Hi guys, as the title suggests, the specific tips that I'm going to give is specific tips that I used between prelims and finals to get a distinction in mathematics. Now please note that prior to grade 12, I had not gotten a distinction in maths before. Grade 11, I did not get a distinction. Grade 10, grade 9, grade 8, never in my life had I ever gotten a maths distinction. So, the first time I actually got a math distinction was in grade 12. Grade 12, term 1 actually. Term 2, marks dropped, got I think a B, 70 something. Term 3, marks dropped even more. I got 60s in term 3, which was prelims. However, between prelims and finals, I came from 60s and got a distinction. Now, the tips that I'm going to give you, they're going to sound very basic, very straight to the point, but if you execute, you will not regret it. So the first pointer that I mentioned here is I bought a study guide for the first time in my school career. Now, obviously, for all the 7 subjects that I had, maths, physics, information technology, engineering, graphics and design, English, Afrikaans, and LO, I bought a math study guide and I also bought a physics study guide. However, we're concentrating on the math side. On the math side, I got a study guide specifically, and then I also got the maths examination code book. Now, the idea behind me getting these specific books, these were actually a recommendation from one of my friends that was actually doing well in school. This was like one of those straight A students. Now, many times we think that most straight A students or most students that actually do well, they were maybe like just born like that or they're just lucky. But that was not actually the case. This person was actually putting in the work. They had study guides that they were using, and they recommended that I also get a study guide. They also recommended that I get the maths examination gold book. Now, as with anything, you can buy whatever you want to buy. However, you need to make use of it. If you do not make use of what it is that you buy, it is as good as though you did not make that purchase. So the same goes for the online courses for maths that I created. If you are not going to engage in these courses, it is not going to help you. So if you're going to make a purchase of the study guides or online courses, you need to make use of the material for it to be helpful to you. Pointer number 2, I said here, I asked for help from people that were actually passing. This is clearly linked to pointer number 1. Because if I remember correctly, I remember specifically asking this friend of mine, how are you doing it? How are you getting such good marks? And they laid it out very simply. They had a study guide that they were using. They had a maths examination aid gold book that they were using. And I just followed suit. Now, the main idea is it was mainly a matter of just using the book. It was not anything too extravagant as we all may think. So asking for help from others, they will also be able to explain certain concepts in a way that is different from how it is explained to you at school. Pointer number 3, I clearly wrote here, I stayed up a bit later than I usually did, and then I also had a quiet/dedicated place to study. Now, this is not a time for you to like make excuses and say things like, but I don't have a quiet place to study, I don't have a specific place to study and all that. You don't want to work on excuses because one more or the other, we all have excuses and all those excuses are valid. But it is not something that you then want to embody and not do what you have to do. So on my side specifically, the one thing I know about myself is I always have a hard time falling asleep. You get it? So I just used that to my advantage. In the evening, I would just be studying. Now, in terms of me studying, for maths in particular, the study guide that I had, it was a matter of reading through it, like literally reading through it, trying out some of the examples that they had there. And then after trying out some of the examples for that specific topic, I took the maths examination gold book, which is basically past papers, and I went to those specific topics that I was studying and I tried out those questions. Now, the fortunate thing about the maths examination gold book is that if you do get stuck, at the back of the book there's worked out answers, which is just how a memo works, a math memo. So me mentioning the math examination gold book, it's just me maybe trying to say past papers. You read the study guide, you get an idea of what topic is being explained, You try out one or two or few examples in the study guide, and then you carry on with your past paper questions. Those specific past paper questions that are related to the specific topic that you'll be studying, you practice those. Pointer number 4, have a very specific goal in mind. I had a very specific goal in mind. Now, funny enough, on my side, the one specific goal I had in mind was I just want a maths distinction. Now, I was fortunate enough to have a maths teacher that just drilled it in my brain, rather, that I was a distinction candidate. Like from the beginning of the year right until the end, she would always call me a distinction candidate. Now, I don't think she knew that prior to that year or in my math career, I had actually never gotten a distinction in math, but she kept calling me a distinction candidate. Now, which is something I can also mention, right? The people around you, you don't want to keep people around you that will always be bringing you down, you know? If you have someone around you that's always like bringing you down, talking just things that are not constructive, yeah, you really don't want to be around those kinds of people. You want people that will at least lift you up. Not people that will lie to you, but people that will help you in your journey. Now, you cannot be helped in your journey if your journey does not have a specific goal. So if your goal is maybe not to get a distinction, fine, you need to have a specific goal. You want a B, which is 70s, you want 60s, depending on where you're coming from. Have that specific goal in mind, and you need to stick to your goal, because if you just give up, it's just not going to be worth it. Pointer number 5, I mentioned here, track your progress. So I also wrote here 1 month or less towards the final exams. I went through a full paper from start to finish at least once every 3rd day. So right now, depending on when you're watching this, a month away from the final exams, every 3rd day I at least made sure that I went through a full paper. Whether I was going through a specific topic, whether I was comfortable with that topic or not, I just drilled it in my head that I need to keep track of how far I have come. And you need to keep track of how far you've come also, because if you don't track your progress, you will not be able to see how close you are to your specific goal. So on my side, you can imagine, as I was going through these full papers, the idea is you need to go through the full papers and you need to mark very specifically. You need to mark aggressively, like you're actually a teacher. But as you're marking, you obviously do need to be taking note of, okay, fine, what are you getting wrong? What are you getting right? What's easy for you? What's difficult? You need to keep track of the progress that you're making. And the only way you're going to do that is if you go through a full paper very consistently. So this is where you need to not get tired and lazy and just burnt out or something like that. You need to just make it a priority to go through a full paper at least once every 3rd day. So if you're going to do this in the morning when you wake up, when you're still very fresh, that may actually be the best, because you don't want to go through these full papers with just like a mushy brain and you're tired and you're hungry. No, you want to be in a specific state that you want to be in when you actually write your exam on the day of the exam. Pointer number 6, I mentioned here, minimize distractions. Stay focused. You actually want to zone out, just zone out from the rest of the world. And if needs be, let people miss you if they have to, like one way or the other, just stay focused during the November final exams. When I say just stay focused, I mean you don't want to think too super duper about it. Just stay focused. Your life should just revolve around your exams, should just revolve around your academics. It's for a small period of time. It's literally 1 month to go until your final exams. Just 1 month, and your life will be very different from what you may think it is. Very, very different. So you don't want to now just throw that away because you want, 2 days of just going crazy. A 7th point. This is one of my mantras, if you will. Mantra, motto, I don't know. But I always say to myself, imagine victory was guaranteed. So this statement, what it basically means is, if what you had to do is all it took, would you then do it? Let me repeat. Imagine that victory is guaranteed. Meaning, imagine that the one thing that you can do and maybe are avoiding to do. Imagine if that's the only thing you actually need to do for you to actually accomplish your goal. You want to imagine that what it is that you can do. Imagine if that is all it actually took for you to actually accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. What I'm trying to say is, don't deprive yourself of the actions that you know you can take for you to actually achieve what you want to achieve. Don't undermine your actions. Don't undermine what you have in mind to say, okay, fine, you know what, let me maybe just try and stay up and study. Imagine that all it took was just that. You just actually doing what you know you need to do. You don't want to think that it has to be something very extravagant. So that's the idea behind you imagining that victory is guaranteed. Now, the only way you can imagine that victory is guaranteed is if you can think to yourself, okay, fine, the things I know I have to do, what if I just do that and it's actually the only thing that guarantees the victory? You know, you don't want to overthink it too much. Just imagine victory is guaranteed. Now, in the process of you imagining that victory is guaranteed, it's a matter of you just doing what you know you actually can do without you throwing too many excuses in the works. You know, you don't want to throw too many excuses in your mind. You just want to do what you know you can do and imagine that that is all you actually need to do for you to achieve what you're actually trying to achieve. On this channel specifically, there are tutorials here, math tutorials for grade 12 learners, a few of them for grade 11 learners. And if you check in the link in the description, you will see a link to the online courses website where I created maths online courses for grade 12 learners. These maths online courses were created in such a way that allows you to learn math the way that I understood it eventually, which is how I went from getting my 40s and 50s to actually getting 70s and 80s for mathematics consistent. As I mentioned, throughout the year in MATRIC, the marks did drop, but the methods that I was using were good enough for me to actually solidify how well I understood math, so that at the end of the year, I actually got a distinction. And I've helped multiple people also get distinctions, also go from low marks to high marks. Now, if you want to be one of these students, I suggest you do sign up for the maths online courses. As of this recording, we do have contact classes that we have scheduled. If you want more information on that, you can click the link in the description. These contact classes will be held in Bryanston, 22 on Sloan, Centon, 2191 from 8 in the morning up until 3 in the afternoon. There will be a break in between. These workshops, you can sign up for them and you'll have access to the workshops one day after the other, because the first day we'll be going through maths paper 1, the next day we'll be going through maths paper 2, and the goal is to cover your syllabus within that time frame. If you do sign up for the contact classes, you automatically get access to the online courses, so that prior to the workshop you could be working on the online courses, so that on the day of the contact classes you have multiple questions that you want to ask myself specifically, and I will be able to help you. You can imagine these kinds of tips are the kinds of tips that will be given out the whole day during the contact classes. But for now, don't forget to subscribe. I will catch you in the next video.